how to describe our trip to Alaska. Adventure. One word. That's it.
So I'm Graham. I'm a professional mountain climber, and my wife Shannon is a retired professional ultimate frisbee player who's won 2 world championships.
We both come with expert backgrounds in certain sports, which makes it kind of hard to play well together in those sports. Graham and I are looking for activities that we feel that we're on the same playing field. So things that we're both pretty new at. Are you okay? It's been really fun engaging that learning curve together.
Last year, we went on a big bike packing trip together where we had learned the sport together.
It went really well.
I actually proposed to Shannon on the last trip. So yeah, so the trip went really well.
We definitely knew that it wasn't going to be the last trip when we came back from the Oahes. We wanted to do it again, but maybe add a little new twist.
We were pretty fired up to find other ways to travel across landscapes.
I heard about something called a packraft.
It's small enough that you can pack it up in your backpack, so you can hike in somewhere and then packraft out. And so it's just a really, really cool way to travel. When Shannon discovered this trip up in the Aniakchak, it kind of turned into something that really piqued our interest.
Aniakchak is the least visited national monument in the national park system, and it's located in far western Alaska.
You have this big caldera, so this big blown out volcano. That's the Aniakchak caldera.
This caldera is 10 kilometers across.
You know, something akin to Mordor in The Lord of the Rings or something like that. One of the wildest places that you can go. And then there's this big lake in the caldera. You put in your boat and you pack raft down out to the ocean. So you climb a volcano and pack raft out of it in one of the most remote parts of Alaska, which, if nothing else, sounds like an adventure. It might just really sound like a bad idea.
Would I say I'm experienced in white water? Absolutely not. But I was really inspired by that idea, and over our relationship, Graham has dragged me into a lot of different adventures, and this is the first really big trip we're taking that was primarily my idea. But Graham is extremely cautious of water in general, let alone moving water in a river.
I love going on expeditions, but I am really not that fond of water. Really not that fond of it at all. We've been running around with some friends of town who know a lot about water sports, and a good friend of ours, Forrest Woodward, a very talented water sports guy.
So he seemed like the perfect person to get our feet wet, so to speak.
Graham and I have spent a lot of time climbing in the mountains together, and the idea of introducing him to water sports, and specifically to pack rafting, seemed like a really neat way to open up new possibilities. They kind of sprung at it, and we're like, yes, we're coming to visit you, teach us everything about boats. They're going to spend a couple days with us here in North Carolina, and then they're going to head back to Bend to teach themselves, and so they've got like 9 months or so before they head to Alaska.
Really learning how to read water, how to navigate, so that we can really make this reality.
You guys are doing great.
Good thing I had my PFD on.
I'm trying to give them a crash course or just share some of what I know about rivers with them.
So far it's going great. They're taking it to the water like fish to land.
They have no idea what they're doing.
gonna try to get to the far side of the
We're
pond.
trying to go to the far side of the pond over there.
Oh my god.
I think they might be in a little bit over their heads.
I think we're doing it.
Doing pretty good so far.
It'll be really interesting to see what it does to their relationship. We tried putting them in a canoe together, and it became pretty clear that they both needed their own boat.
What are you doing?
That's a good thing to figure out before they get to Alaska.
Have you ever blown up a pack raft before?
No, I've never even actually seen a pack raft in person.
Feels pretty good.
What do you think, man?
Hey, these are cool.
You guys are pretty much ready for Alaska.
Really making us feel good.
Yeah.
I am very curious to see what getting on a river feels like tomorrow.
We're taking our first spin on a real river.
I don't know, I'm feeling like cautiously optimistic.
Excited.
Yeah, we've had to like figure out all this new stuff. Paddle, pack raft, PFD.
And that's right, lean into it. Low oxygen environment.
I think what will be most surprising for Graham and Shannon is like how well everything goes until it goes really bad.
Okay, here we go.
Graham has a ton of enthusiasm, less natural skill in the water from what we've seen so far.
Watch out for the spikes.
I feel like half the time I'm just like waving the paddle around uselessly while trying to stay in the boat. I seem to get stuck on like every rock available.
I ate eggs for breakfast, but it looks like I might eat shit for lunch.
When you're on the river, it can feel really effortless, and then all of a sudden it can feel terrifying.
Swimming is terrifying. You're constantly getting pushed under the water, you're getting run into rocks, you're totally out of control. You are under the force of gravity, moving downhill towards whatever is in front of you. And if that's something you don't like, then like that's kind of too bad. Like you're gonna have to deal with it. And man, that scares the shit out of me.
He's a little bit gripped about the power of water and how it moves and how you're kind of at its whim.
Don't get me wrong, like he's got potential, but he's definitely been spending a lot more time swimming out of his boat than Shannon has. Shannon seems to be taking to the river a little bit more naturally than Graham. She's watching and learning the currents.
I would say that I have a healthy respect for water and the way it moves and how strong it is.
Shannon's totally gung-ho, and I'm just like the gripped Gumby. But experiencing a landscape from a river is very different than experiencing the landscape through any other mode of transportation.
You see wildlife interacting with rivers in a way that you just can't see from the shore.
You have a lot of time to look around. It's quite unique.
Graham's progressing very well, faster than we both expected, and I'm very proud of him.
We are getting up early because we need to test out all of our equipment for Alaska. Get into expedition mode. We've been training on the rivers around here and just spending a lot of time figuring out the systems with the boats and you know, learning a lot.
They're probably like an intermediate rookie where they know just enough to get them into sketchy situations and probably not enough to get them out of sketchy situations. Graham is extremely talented in a lot of areas.
Keep it forward, keep it forward.
And then Shannon, she's the same, but she is maybe the more logical of the two. She'll be the voice of reason. that's what makes them pretty perfect as a couple.
I feel like my fear of getting eaten by bears and drowning are now kind of unequal, whereas drowning was a little higher, a few weeks ago. So.
Going on a trip like this is something that takes a lot of planning.
Really coming together.
Like, look how many napkins of stuff we have.
This year has been even busier than last year, and as much planning as we've wanted to do, there's always more to be done.
How do you strap a 60-pound pack onto the front of your boat, while you're out in the wilderness? How do you keep yourself hydrated while you're in this pack raft for days on end? How do you carry the whole thing around? How do you keep all your stuff dry? How do you keep yourself dry?
The number one thing that I came away from North Carolina particularly worried about was my fitness level. It's been really hard work to figure out the best way to train for this type of trip, especially upper body with all the paddling, working out a lot. I've never been to Alaska before. This will be my first time. Graham's been to Alaska more than maybe 10 times.
Graham brings the disaster preparedness and wilderness skills to make sure that we don't die if shit hits the fan.
I also have big thighs, honey, don't forget.
You can carry lots of weight.
Tomorrow we launch, and I honestly don't know what we're getting ourselves into.
Am I worried about them going to Alaska? It'll be extremely uncomfortable in so many ways. Relationship-wise, emotionally, I'm sure they'll get mad at each other.
What's that?
It might be a terrible idea. Who knows?
I think we'll fall in love a little bit more, and I also think it's going to be harder than I think it will.
I think that in terms of like us as a couple, this is by far the biggest adventure we've ever been on. Yeah, like far and away.
All right, here we go.
If it were all fun and easy, we'd probably just go sit around and drink margaritas on a beach, which we should really do sometime, but not this time.
We left Bend, where it's like gorgeous and sunny. We flew from Bend to Seattle to Anchorage to the town of King Salmon at the head of the Alaskan Peninsula, where it was a lot colder.
Looks wet and looks like we're in for some hard work.
The mosquitoes here don't mind the rain.
Last year when we went bikepacking, if that was like couple adventuring like 101, we were going into like straight to a master's thesis on like how to deal with the elements together as a couple. The big marriage test.
You ready to go? Okay. We're out here in the middle of nowhere. Okay. Shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
The fun meter started out like pretty low. Wet feet, heinous mosquitoes, thick brush. Instead of just following a trail, we were following a compass bearing.
And that put us straight into the middle of a bog.
It was pretty honest to God bushwhacking. Hi.
Hi.
Having fun?
I would say not.
Not fun?
Not fun.
There's simply no way to know where the bears are.
If the bear continues to approach, spray it again. Monitor the bear's activities and do not turn your back on the bear for any reason. Hey, bear.
We were moving through all of these different landforms and all these different ecosystems. And it was kind of unlike anywhere I'd really visited before.
Starting in the swamp, heading up to Tundra Plateau with a bunch of really interesting microfauna. My favorite part of visiting wilderness spaces isn't always necessarily the big grand landscapes, but a lot of times it's the small things that you notice along the way.
Hi.
Hi. Pretty good weather, which is great.
Bless you.
Sorry. There are mosquitoes everywhere in here. Well, I never really anticipated that I would be psyched to put my dry suit on.
Tell me about today, Graham.
Well, we're in the thick of the really challenging part of the trip.
As we got higher and higher, the storm kind of felt gnarlier and gnarlier because we were more and more exposed.
Are we having fun yet?
Eventually the ground starts to harden and the plants get smaller until we really feel like we're on the side of a volcano.
That's when we started going up the side of the caldera. And then we were in basically a wasteland of rock as we started to approach the lip into the caldera.
There was this really interesting point as we were walking up the side of the caldera where we crossed into this protected space, what is officially, the least visited part of the national park system. It really felt like we were on the edge of the earth.
And the clouds started to dissipate a little bit, and we looked into the caldera for the first time. And it was like looking into another world. It was incredible.
This is so cool. Hell yeah.
Gotta say, I've never done anything like this, never thought I would.
Unreal. This is so cool.
We made it.
Yay.
Good job, Shannon. This is awesome. Yeah.
It feels really good to have finally made it to this lake we've been looking at on a map for almost a year.
And then it was time to get on the river.
The flow on the river is extremely continuous, and there aren't very many eddies.
It looks pretty intense.
We haven't actually put the boats in the water in such a remote area before.
I was really nervous.
This river was wilder and different than anything we'd been on. At that point, I was really scared.
So it's kind of heinous out here. We're 4 days into the trip, looking at the river. The river's really high. The weather's really bad. This is way tighter and more technical and up than I imagined. It's not something I think we can do.
Way above our skill level, and it just seems pretty high consequence.
I really hope the lower sections of the river look easier because this is above our pay grade for sure. We just gotta start walking.
It was a pretty easy choice not to paddle that section.
I think we've got about 30 miles till we reach the ocean.
So Our plan is to portage right at Hidden Creek.
Keep it safe. We might even have some fun. What have we got ourselves into?
We were very equal partners on this river. I needed to rely on Shannon just as much as she needed to rely on me. And that was scary. Her well-being is like the most important thing in my life.
When we got through the gates and the river was supposed to now be much easier, it was still a very fast-moving river with big obstacles and potential challenges.
The upper river was intense, man. I was on edge for the first entire day. We had like a 30 to 70 mile an hour headwind.
Boat, taking a swim, had the tent collapse, dealt with a lot of rainstorms, and seen about 10 minutes of sun. This is like the best trip ever.
Are you doing that on purpose?
Yeah. Does it look better?
I don't know.
I tried to make it look better. I got a look at the last video and it looked kind of awful.
I don't know.
Seems like these trips are like the ultimate testing field for our relationship.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I love you.
I love you too.
I'd go anywhere with you.
So it would seem.
Yeah. Go right up here. Oh my god, look at this thing. Shannon, what do you think of these things?
They're big. They're big bear tracks.
They're out here somewhere.
We're gonna see how this patch holds up today.
As the days on the river progressed, we were out of the alpine environment and the river had gotten wider and was much mellower.
We're having a lot of fun out here.
We were moving fast, just eating up the miles, and it was amazing. The final day of paddling did feel relaxing, for sure.
Slowly mellows out until you're kind of out meandering down through these open plains of tundra.
And that's really when we started to see the wildlife come out. And we started seeing eagles, beavers in the river, and we started seeing seals popping their heads up and looking at us.
So cool, hey Shannon?
Felt very peaceful. Every day we traveled, we were prepared to see grizzly bears. We were kind of incredulous. Where are they? I saw it from a distance, which I was okay with, but it was incredible.
This is why we're here. That's why we come outside.
For me, there's nothing more grounding in my life than visiting an area of the world that has not seen influence from humans.
They like represent a place where I can get kind of wild myself. Over the last week, we have traversed the Alaskan Peninsula, and we got pretty worked. We were soaked to the bone for most of the trip.
We were so close so many times on this trip to disaster.
And you know what? It was awesome. We were cold miserable, for sure. But we were also having a good time. Just goofing around.
It was fun. I mean, there's only one way to have fun, and that's to make it for yourself.
Even when things got really bad, we were laughing. And that's pretty spectacular to be able to experience that together. We were a team. It creates a lot of understanding between us. It creates a lot of joy. We just learn so much about each other, and it just strengthens our relationship in really profound ways that I don't think we can get at in other places.
It's really nice to know that Graham and I are the type of people that can make the best out of any situation.
And while I would have loved it if it was sunny for the last week, I think that Shannon's and my relationship is probably stronger for the fact that it was not.
You want to talk to me like I'm Shannon?
Hey, Shannon.
Hi.
Your beard, Shannon, is getting pretty long.
Thank you. Yeah, folks, it's pretty much the way God wrote it. Yes, sir. Signing off.